Hey peeps, I just want to start by saying that I don't normally record this time of day, and so I'm sorry because you're going to see the sun is like moving across the windows in front of my desk a little bit crazily for the next probably as long as I record this. But it's such a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous finally spring day here. Vincent and I have had like the best day. We went for a walk out in the woods. Our the trail that we love to go out in the woods finally is pretty much cleared of snow, and so we just had so much fun traipsing around. If I remember, I'll try to put some photos in at the end of the video, but we had so much fun. We also like went through both of our closets and bureaus. We did a bunch of spring cleaning today. It is Easter, so if you celebrate Easter, happy Easter. We don't really celebrate Easter, but he does get chocolate and jelly beans. He gets chocolate eggs and jelly beans, and he does this little Easter egg hunt thing on his own. He kind of gets two because he also gets one on Astara as well. So he's had a really good day too, and we've just been having so much fun together. So he's taking a few minutes to play one of his video games, and I thought I would just hop on and chat with you guys. I had a viewer recently request that I talk about this, and I realized that I haven't talked about this deck in a very long time. So this is the Deviant Moon Tarot, and I'm going to show you some images from the deck while I talk a little bit about this deck. So way back in the day, and for my OG viewers, you will remember this, I loved this deck. When I first started my channel, this deck was really gaining in popularity, and I was working with this deck a lot, and it was very powerful and very much a deck of like brutal honesty for me at a time in my life when my marriage was ending, and I really needed that kind of honesty and not just like kick in the gut kind of thing that the Deviant Moon Tarot offered. And then when I moved to Portland, it was a deck that I had, my original copy I had donated. I no longer have the bordered edition. I have the borderless one. So I had donated my original copy for a time, and then I had repurchased a borderless edition, but I didn't really use this deck a great deal. But then when I saw that the creator of the Deviant Moon Tarot was making a new Oracle deck recently, and I really was very drawn to the imagery in that deck. I've shared some of the photos on my Instagram account. I've been really drawn to that Oracle deck. I'm very excited to work with it. So I was like, I gotta pull out Deviant Moon. And then one of you had asked me if I would talk about Deviant Moon again. So I have been working with the deck again. I've been using it in client readings, and I have some things to say, but don't I always have some things to say about tarot? So the first thing that I forgot was this deck is a little awkward to shuffle because it's so long, but it's also it's not a square. It's definitely a rectangle shape. So like here is Ritual Tarot to compare, and then Difficult Damsels to compare as well, size-wise. It's almost too long for my hands, but not quite. And so I forgot that it's like a little bit of a workout for my hands to be able to shuffle this comfortably, but I resettled back into that over the last few weeks, and I was like, okay, I'm back to being comfortable shuffling her. I have found her to be no less in your face, kick-ass, truthful. And I will be very honest that over the years, at times, this deck has been a little too harsh for me. Now, when I say that, I am in no way not recommending this deck. First of all, from a collector's perspective, the artwork is beautiful. There's a gorgeous hardcover book based on this deck that the artist wrote himself, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I have that as well. And so that's a wonderful piece to have from a collector's standpoint. You've got this whole experience. The artwork is super fucking unique. It's really, really beautiful. It's based on, you know, he was really inspired by cemeteries, and I'm trying to remember, right? Wasn't it like in the industrialization and the colonization of America? Like you really get this very gothic kind of sepia tone, antiquated gold tone, nightmarescape I feel like, with this deck. And actually one of my favorite depictions, let me see if I've already gone through it. The 9 of Wands ever is in this deck. 8 of Swords I love as well, which I already showed, but the 9 of Wands is one of my favorite depictions. Here's 7 of Swords. I love that one. Here's the Death card and another beautiful option. But I have found that I have to be in the right space within myself to work with this deck. Now, that's not a bad thing. Again, from a collector standpoint, as your collection grows, there's this real beauty to like having specific decks for specific purposes. And so this is a deck that you have to be in the right, in my experience, you got to be in the right place to work with this deck. But if you are in a self-aware space, but not in too dark of a space on your path, this deck is very helpful because it's a truth teller. Like, this deck does not sugarcoat anything. It calls it like it is. It's honest. It is a kick in the teeth. It is a kick in the gut. Like, it's gonna force you to be honest, to deal with things, to look at things, and it's not gonna sugarcoat any truths that you need to hear. I found this to be true for clients as well as for myself. So there, and I love this 2 of Pentacles. I think I've talked about that in previous videos too. This deck is just really, really special. It's very unique. Love that 4 of Wands. It's absolutely gorgeous. I always like this 8 of Cups too. This is one of those decks that really helped me get into what the 8 of Cups means to me. And I love this 2 of Cups. Sorry, I digress. It is an absolute truth serum of a deck. And so I have to be in the right space with this. If I'm really raw and really vulnerable, if I've just been through something super intense, super visceral, super painful, especially in regards to like friendships, relationships, people in my life, this deck is always, has always, will always, does always tell me the absolute truth. And so I think there was a time on my path when I really had to just step away a little bit and not work with this deck. And so I'm actually glad that I took that time away, because now I am really enjoying reconnecting with this deck. And I do find that this is a very helpful deck around, and this is the 3 of Swords. I love this 3 of Swords. Around honesty and what's really going on in dynamics that we have with other people in our lives. Again, not to be used if you're not in the right space to hear the truth, because this deck is not gentle. It does not hold your hand. I have not found it in any way to ever offer, or at least I should say, since the beginning of my channel, when I stepped away from working with this deck, I needed the space because it was very honest, but I didn't need it to be that painfully honest. I needed it to be a little softer. I needed a little bit more, maybe Alana Fairchild energy than the Deviant Moon Tarot. But that does not negate how insanely awesome this deck is, how really cool it is at a really fascinating time within the tarot community, when we were all really starting to like come out as tarot readers and tarot lovers. And it was still a little bit like, you know, we were all just getting comfortable coming out of the dark with our love for the cards and our love for divination, and for some of us, our love for witchcraft or for pagan paths or left-hand paths. And so this deck is always associated with that, like really gritty kind of indie, sexy coolness too. So working with this deck again has been really, really beautiful. I'm actually glad I took the time away from it that I needed to. I love this borderless edition. I love, it's like an old friend. It's like having tea, oh my God, a margarita with an old friend. I'm like, what drink would I drink with this deck? I would have a margarita. It would be tequila. And it would be like a really spicy tequila. where is that Nine of Wands? Here it is. Let me show you a few others. Here's the Devil, the Knight of Cups. It does have a very gritty, street, gothy feel to it. And so again, it's one that, you know, you're maybe not going to want to use all the time, but I do think if you're a collector, you're going to want it to be part of your collection. So let me come back to this Nine of Wands. This is my favorite image of the well, one of my favorite images of the Nine of Wands, I should say, because I know, you guys asked, and I am going to start that video series, but you guys have to remember how many decks I have. And so I have to think about every Nine of Wands in every deck and which one is my favorite. But this is one of my favorites. At a time when I was still trying to understand what the Nine of Wands meant for me as a reader, this deck helped me to understand this message. So Tarot of Vampires helped me to understand the holy warrior aspect to the Nine of Wands. This card helped me to understand maybe it's not worth it. Maybe what I'm holding on to defense-wise actually needs to be let go. And I think you feel that in this sense of defeat within this being here, this sense of loneliness and solitude, but not in a way that feels good. This sense of separateness, of being lost in a labyrinth. This Nine of Wands was really instrumental for me as a reader, and I really love this image. I think he knocked it out of the park. So I have one other image I'm going to show you. If you are looking for a deck that is absolutely spicy tequila with no sweet, straight up, absolutely truthful, absolutely honest, not an easy best friend, tempestuous energy, mercurial, moody. This deck's probably a Scorpio, let's get real. Definitely listens to Joy Division, definitely listens to Bauhaus. Then this is a deck you probably want in your collection. It's the friend that you don't see all that often, that you kind of only really talk to when you're in crisis or they're in crisis, but is the person that's not ever going to lie to you. Then this is a deck that you want to work with, and it's really beautiful for that. I have one caveat to this deck. This is my least favorite Queen of Pentacles ever. Now, it's become my least favorite over time. There's probably previous videos on the channel, and I will try to remember to post down below older videos, like if you want to see the real inception days of this channel. But I detest this Queen of Pentacles. Probably because I'm a Taurus sun, and so one of my significators within the tarot is the Queen of Pentacles. And what stuck out to me so much from the guidebook meaning for this card is, and I wonder if I have the box handy. I don't think I do. It's stored away. In one of the descriptions of this card, you know, he was talking about how merciless and like what an evil stepmother energy the Queen of Pentacles is in shadow, reversed. And there's just something about like how awful I feel like this Queen of Pentacles looks. Like nothing about her has the sensuality of the Venusian energy of Taurus, or like the earthiness and the nurturing energy of that the Queen of Pentacles can have when she's upright. So this one is hard for me over time. This is an image like over the last few years when I was like, I really need to, you know, reconnect with that deck. I've got to get it back into my collection. I would think of that Queen of Pentacles and I would be like, no, I don't want to work with that Queen of Pentacles. So that Queen of Pentacles, that's my one caveat to Deviant Moon Tarot, is like that Queen of Pentacles just hits hard and not in a good way. Like just, ugh. I think it's accurate when we do look at the Queen of Pentacles in shadow, for sure. I'm so sorry about the light, guys. This is the joys and the reality of natural lighting. Because while I have a ring light, I don't use the ring light unless I'm recording at night for client readings. I just use the natural light in this room because from this side of the room, it's really beautiful. Total tangent there, but I'm just trying to get out of the sun that's coming across the window. Again, like an accurate depiction of the Queen of Pentacles in shadow, just not a part of earth sign energy I really want to think about all that often. And since I did have a difficult relationship with my mother, perhaps it just hits a little too close to home for me. But like I said, when I'm in a sensitive place, when I want my hand held, when I want to take a long hot bath and have a glass of Prosecco and read a trashy novel to get out of my head, Deviant Moon Tarot is not the deck that I'm going to turn to. That's a time when I'm going to move to a different deck. But this deck is very, very powerful. It's very truthful. I think it's a worthy part of any collection. If you're on the fence about Deviant Moon, I say give it a try. It's very reasonably priced on Amazon at this point in time. The hardcover guidebook is, I think, around $30 if I remember right. I'll try to remember to post a link for that too. But it also comes with a little white book that's very helpful. Like way back in the day, I didn't have that hardcover book. A client of mine had gifted that to me a few years ago. Well, actually a long time ago now, maybe like 7 years ago. But that little white book is actually pretty insightful for a little white book and definitely a great option. So you don't have to buy that hardcover book unless, you know, you want to get a little more in depth to the artist and author's process. But I do think it's really a unique deck. The artwork is still unique. The feel of the deck is still unique. If you're darkly inclined, aesthetic-wise, it's absolutely should be a part of your collection because the artwork is just divine and everything that we love about cemeteries and the late 1800s and all that good stuff. So from that perspective, it's absolutely worth it. And as a deck, it's a real working tarot deck. It's just not going to hold your hand. And it's going to be very, very honest with you. So just be prepared and be in the right space when you work with this deck. But to the viewer who requested this video, I hope you appreciated hearing my updated thoughts on working with Deviant Moon Tarot. I hope you are all having a wonderful Sunday like Vincent and I are. I'm sending you guys so much love and many blessings. I'll see you in the next video.